Who's in charge? Me or the devil? I think I'm in charge. Welcome back to Down the Slope. It's me, your host Greg, back by popular demand. And tonight I'm joined by Harry and Liam. How are you doing tonight, Harry? I'll come to you first.
Yeah, I'm not too bad, mate. I thoroughly enjoyed your hosting the other day and looking forward to more of it again tonight.
Perfect. Appreciate that. And Liam, with the dodgy thumb, how are you doing?
People are going to be speculating what I've been doing with that thumb, seeing as it's dodgy now, aren't they? Contrary to popular belief, it's not been up my arse for the last 2 or 3 days since we last recorded. I did have a wee accident the other night, but all's good, and my left hand is still working, for those of you that are concerned.
Happens to the best of us. Talking of speculating, Harry puts a specky in speculating. Dan Mackay today has joined Kilmarnock on loan. What's your thoughts on that one, Harry?
It's disappointing considering I had quite high expectations for him after pre-season. I thought he looked really good. He got himself in really positive positions. Even in the Rijeka game at home, he got himself in a positive position to score. He didn't quite have the composure to put it away. But yeah, like one of the problems he had at Inverness, why he didn't really get to the next level before this season. He has had quite a few recurring injuries. So I think it makes sense to try and ease him back in at championship levels, as opposed to trying to get him in a consistent game in the Premier League.
Yeah, and obviously he's gone to Kilmarnock to join Dino Derrick, who doesn't play with any midfielders. Do you think that's a good move for him, Liam, or do you think he might struggle to see a lot of the ball?
I was trying to weigh up in my head whether it's a good move or not. I think he's still 20 years old, so going to the Championship's maybe not a bad thing. Kilmarnock probably expect to dominate the ball in most of the games they play, because the other team will probably be sitting in against them this season. So that might be in some ways quite good for him. But for me, in the very, very short flashes I've seen him at Hibs, he looks like an asset on the counter-attack, but I'm not sure how effective he'll be when teams are kind of sitting in against them. So yeah, it's difficult to say. I really hope it is. I hope it's a success for him and he comes back and he's, not just injuries, but helps him build back up a wee bit of confidence, because I think his confidence will have been rocked by injuries and by a pretty underwhelming start to his Hibs career.
Yeah. Funny you should mention that chance against Rijeka, Harry. That was a sickener, wasn't it?
It's one of those ones that you score that goal and you're going to away leg fully expecting to get through to the next round. And then obviously Darren McGregor had his cameo performance, which just didn't go well. And the less we speak about that game in future, the better, to be honest, because that was an absolute disaster.
I would agree. Do you think we need to replace him, Liam, or do you think we've got enough at the club already to see us through? I mean, I know we've kind of done without him for a while, so.
I think we've probably just about got enough. I do expect Stevie Bradley to go back out on loan. And I think one of potentially Dre Wright or Jamie Murphy might go before the end of the window, in which case I think we probably would need another body that can play wide, because I think you start getting into the realms of playing guys who are not wingers on the wing, and we've seen far too often centre midfielders at Hibs. The kind of Slivka comes to mind, being shunted out to the right hand side of midfield and asked to do a job. So what I would hope is that we're in a position where if we do get one or two going out, that we've got targets identified to bring someone in. And I to be honest, that as this window goes on and the movement started gets kind of quite slow, I think there probably will be a taker between now and the end of January for Dre Wright or Jamie Murphy, or both.
Well, I would like to see at least one of them go, and it's not Dre Wright. Although if he was to go, I don't think I would be too disappointed. To be fair, I think he done okay against Dundee United, but I'm still very much unsure whether he's got it to succeed at Hibs. What about yourself, Harry? Do you think we do need to replace him, or do you think we've got enough there?
I think if we'd lost Boyle, which is great that he's apparently not out the door, I think we definitely would need another body in. But I don't think it's a place for need. I think with Muller and Melkerson, then you've got Boyle as well. We've got players that we can kind of flex out wide, like the likes of Kevin Nisbet, but ideally, obviously, we keep him in the middle, and him and Doidge are predominantly the strikers. But if you wanted to put Doidge through the middle, you could potentially put Nisbet out wide and cutting in on his right foot. But yeah, no, I don't think that. And with the different formations we can play, we've got enough centre backs that we could rock with playing full backs and free centre backs as well. So I think that, yeah, no, we've got enough depth in the squad at the moment, I think, to play a couple of systems and not need another winger in.
Yeah, and just on the centre-back situation, Paul McGinn was given a 2-match ban for speaking out against the Lodge. Harsh? Harry?
So I thought Liam was taking that. He's normally more articulate these things and goes first. But yeah, no, for me, I think it's about out of order. Emotions are very high, especially after you're playing in a cup final and putting a camera in a player's face and asking them what did you think of the referee. Him giving his honest opinion when he wasn't exactly scrutinising the ref, he gave his honest opinion. He said the word inept, but for me, if you say to someone, "Oh yeah, they're making a sub," and the players react to them making a sub and it plays on, that is inept. I think that's factually correct from Paul McGinn. I don't think he said anything out of line. And then you compare it to the treatment of Ramirez, who took a video, put it on Twitter, and then again a Hibs player got banned as opposed to him for moaning about refereeing. So I just think it's a clear lack of consistency. It's just a bit embarrassing from anybody looking out from the outside looking in.
Yeah, and Harry is absolutely spot on, Liam. You are very articulate with these things, so fire away.
It's disappointing, but it's not surprising.
Yeah,
I think it was wholeheartedly expected. The minute I saw the comments, I was like, "Oh, he's going to get done for that," and he's been done for it. 2-match ban probably feels harsh to us as Hibs fans, but we know that the authorities in this game take themselves very, very seriously, and anyone who speaks out against the authorities, irrespective of their performance, will be reprimanded for speaking out against them. So I'm in absolutely no surprise at it happening. But it's disappointing because again we find ourselves in a place where something's been challenged and we don't hear any response from the governing body in terms of that refereeing performance. So the referees who get paid an exorbitant amount of money to do the job that they do are answerable to absolutely nobody in the public eye. So they can continue to have poor performance after poor performance after poor performance, and they never explain the poor performance. They don't even have the decency to send one of their reps forward to come on to Sports Sound or to any other medium to explain the refereeing performance. I mean, it's never going to happen, but I would love Crawford Allen as the head of referees to come on this podcast and talk to us. I would love, we're small time, I get it, but just give us 45 minutes with Crawford Allen and I would love to pull apart refereeing performances in this country and the structure and how it works, because you've got guys out there on Saturdays and Sundays fucking dishing out red and yellow cards, not a clue what they're doing, getting decisions wrong consistently in big games, and they're answerable to no one. It's the easiest job in the world because they're answerable to absolutely no one.
Yeah, it seems very, very easy for them just to make decisions and get away with it. I think for me, Paul McGinn was spot on. You know, John Beaton was inept. He made some really, really poor decisions in that game. Everyone has a laugh at him being a Rangers fan, etc. But there was really no showing off that at the cup final. His performance was diabolical, to be honest. So, and I think that people want players to be as honest as possible. So if you want players to be honest, then you need to allow them that chance. But Paul McGinn's been reprimanded for talking about a refereeing performance and how he sees it. So really, you aren't allowed to speak out against the referees and the governing body. So yeah, it's all very poor, in my opinion. But obviously, going on to Monday against Celtic, that means Paul McGinn's out. I think Harry Clark will come straight in the team, Harry?
I think realistically, Harry Clark's probably getting in the team regardless of whether or not Paul McGinn's banned. I think that Maloney, I think we'll see most of his signings start straight away. I don't think he's the type of manager to kind of play around. And the thing is he's had time with these players to actually get them in training sessions. It's not like they're being signed. Like we've seen it with Hibs before, where we'll sign a player and then we'll throw him in the match day squad on the same day as sign, like that happened with James Scott at the start of the season. But I think that Maloney's had a week at least with Clark before the Celtic game. So I don't see any reason why he wouldn't start. I think he's had enough time to at least see how the system works and comfortably put in a good performance.
Harry's just answered the question I was about to ask. How many new signings will we see? What's your thoughts on that one, Liam? Do you think we'll see them all?
Well, the defenders will be starting based on who available. So I think Clark, possibly Bashiri and Hanlon will make up the back three if he decides to go with a back three. There's a possibility he might go with Lewis Stevenson, who was fine again at left centre back against Dundee United. But I think probably more likely he'll actually go with the specialist centre back, so that would potentially be the back three, Doig and Cad and wing backs. I think we're unlikely to see Melkerson or Henderson from the start. I think they're probably more likely to be bench players to begin with. Might see them against Cove on Thursday. But up top, I would imagine we'll see a front three of Muller, Boyle, and Nisbet. Subject to change between now and Monday, of course, if anyone decides to depart.
Well, that's true. I think that for me, I don't think we'll see Melkerson or Henderson in the first team in the starting 11 on Monday either.
Well, is it? Am I not right in saying it's impossible for Henderson to be in the starting 11 regardless?
Of course.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, very, very true. So yeah, we'll probably. I think Henderson will come into the team against Cove, but I think on Monday he is banned or not allowed to play. So I think that Melkerson will be on the bench. In terms of formation, Harry, do you think we will go with a 3-5-2?
I think really it makes sense. The only problem is you've got Boyle and Muller, and I think that even though Muller's obviously a new signing, he's been around the club for about a month now. So I think that Maloney will be really keen if he's got the quality that we all hope he's got. Then he's the type of player that should be able to just jump in the starting team straight away. And I think that if we play back three, I don't really know where he would fit in the team because I don't think he's a full like a wing back. But yeah, I think Maloney will at first will be three at the back. So I think we might see Boyle wing back and Doig other wing back, and then Muller off the bench as well as Melkerson. But I think from the next home game when we're not playing a team against like Celtic, I think we'll go back to four at the back and have wingers.
Yeah, am I not right in saying we played a 3-4-3 against Aberdeen in his first game? Was that pretty much how we lined up? So I think playing 3-4-3 would allow Boyle and Muller both to play.
Would that not leave you a bit open at the
that?
back though if you did that at Celtic Park?
Well, I suppose you've got Cadden on the right, I suppose. Possibly Doig on the left. I think he played that night. So I don't know. I'm asking the questions, Harry. I'm looking for concrete answers, son.
I think it allows a bit of flexibility.
Yeah.
That's a question for you both. Sorry. Do you think fully fit starting 11 from now, do you think Chris Cadden gets a start?
Aye.
Yep, absolutely. First name in the team sheet for me, I think.
He's high at the pecking order for me as well. I think the energy it gives you, especially at Celtic Park, would be massive. I just think if we're playing particularly if we're going to play a back three, I think him at right wing back, he's got that pretty much nailed down for me. I think if we switched to a back four, maybe you could start to ask questions about him starting, but certainly in a back three for me. I think the 3-4-3 on the face of it sounds attacking, but then you've got Boyle and Muller who their positions can maybe drop a little bit deeper when you've got the ball, not got the ball, etc.
Yeah.
I think we've got enough about us to be able to get through that game in a 3-4-3 system. Albeit, be honest, I've absolutely no idea how it matches up against a 4-3-3 because I've probably never really seen it in the flesh.
Yeah, I think it's a big test for Hibs. Obviously, we've had a bit of a break. Maloney's had time to implement things, but I think it'll be good to see how we really match up against Celtic. I don't think there was a lot in the cup final. I think we could have been better on the day, but ultimately possibly unlucky with decisions that are going against us. Do you think we will try and play on the front foot, Harry, or do you think we'll maybe be a bit more defensive minded?
I like to think, just based off what we've heard from Maloney, I think Maloney goes to win games. I don't think Maloney's hanging around to try and sit in and soak pressure against the likes of Celtic and Rangers. I think that he'll be the exact opposite from Jack Ross. I think he's going to be exactly what Greig has been begging for every time we played the Old Firm, because managers that have been successful with Hibs fans have been the likes of Stubbs and Lennon, who'll actually, even if it's against our best will go out against Celtic and Rangers and do their best to play tit for tat with them. So I would expect us to at least try. But the thing is, for me, that as we've agreed on the podcast before, there's no such thing as a free hit. But if we go out there and we attack and we get beat 3-0, it's not the end of the world. Like, if we go and give it a good go, then at least it shows the intent that Maloney's got.
Nobody wants to lose games of football, Liam, but I think the performance is a big thing for us at the moment. We've had, 2 good performances. Ultimately, we've got 6 points, so it's all good so far. But against Celtic, it's a totally different battle, isn't it?
I think so. I think the fact that he's had another couple of weeks or maybe 10 days to work with the players as well, like hopefully we'll see a wee bit more of that identity everyone's kind of been talking about shine through, just in terms of the kind of team that we want to be going forward. I think he's got a few more of the players to be able to maybe play that way as well. So be interesting. You know my thoughts on that terminology. I don't think there's such a thing, but I do think there's definitely something about us just going out there and approaching the game very differently to how we approached that cup final, which was only 4 weeks ago now, but it feels like almost like a lifetime ago with everything that's happened in between. Because that first 45 minutes of the cup final was very much about staying in the game. And actually, typically, if you're going to go and take something from Parkhead, yeah, okay, staying in the game's fine, but then the second half, you need to be able to show them something a little bit different, take the game to them, and ultimately, you're probably going to have to score a couple of times to win the game. So, you need to have some intent about you.
We're not really defensively sound. We weren't defensively sound really before the break. I mean, we only could see 1 goal in 2 games under Baloney, but before that, we'd been leaking goals. Do you think that with the additions of Bashiri and Clark, do you think we will see more of a playing out for the back style and a wee bit more aggressive defensively?
Probably gives us the option to play a little bit of a higher line based on what I know about those two players. I think both of them will hopefully be a little bit more advanced when they're receiving the ball from restarts or from when the goalkeeper gets out, because I think hopefully the two of them are better equipped to be able to take control of possession and kind of find a pass. There is just so much. I know the guys in Long Bangers were kind of chatting about it earlier on this week. There is so much emphasis now in the back three on your right and left centre back being able to play football, because they have to start attacks. They have to be in a position where if the opportunity comes up to advance the ball or for them to run into space, they've got to be prepared to do that, because that's what right and left centre backs do now in the modern game. Yeah. So I hope that they give us more options in that sense. Do you know the run I love? We talked about Paul Hanlon and page and forward. Do you know the run I love to see is the underlap from the right or the left centre back when the wing back's got the ball out far wide and they just run on the inside channel, and it just offers them an option. And 9 times out of 10, it's only ever useful as a decoy, but it pulls someone away and it just gives a bit more of an option. I'd love to see a bit more of that.
Yeah. Do you think that is something that we will be doing more of, Harry, is looking to get two centre halves forward and join in the attack? And do you think it leaves us more susceptible to conceding silly goals?
I don't know if we'll see it on both sides, but I think with Harry Clark, the goal he scored, the screamer scored away at Dundee, he was actually playing centre back that game, which is absolutely baffling because he did carry the ball past like 5 players and smack it into the net. So I think that it definitely gives the option. You know, I absolutely adore Deathy Ambrose, but I thought the reason he was so dangerous when he carried the ball was because other teams don't really have an answer for it. You're used to the ball getting circulated around the midfield and then distributed wide from there. But if you've got a centre back, then it means that one person in the midfield loses their assignment. It just leaves someone wide open. So hopefully we do start to see ball carrying centre backs. But I think that pace is a huge thing that we've kind of been lacking. Poaches has got a bit of a turn of pace about him, but it's something that McGregor in particular, but Paul Hanlon especially, he's getting a bit older as well. So he's kind of lost the pace that he had when he was younger. So I think with Bashiri and Clark in particular, I think we've got some speed at the back. So as Liam said, I think the ideal back three moving forward would be Bashiri, Porteous and Clark, just because it would give us that much pace at the back. I think people would really struggle to get in behind us.
Would we then not lose balance with not having a left-footed centre half?
I don't think it's needed, because then because ideally when we're playing, regardless of what formation, you'll have the left midfielder, left wing back, etc., and they'll cover the left hand side. I don't think you need a left-footed centre back if you've got a good enough right-footed centre back to play at the left.
Well, I feel massively offended, Liam. Please come in and sort him out.
It's funny when you say that, because our only real centre back that's left sided is Paul Hanlon. I mean, Lewis Stevenson's obviously been there, used there in a sort of standing capacity. But when Harry was saying that's our first strength, our weakest strength, you could argue, is McGregor in the middle, Paul McGinn on the right, and Lewis Stevenson on the left. That's enough to send a shudder up the spine.
I don't think anyone wants to see that.
I mean, my sense is Paul Hanlon's club captain. He's probably not going to lose his place in the team. I know that might be disappointing to some, but I think I sense he'll probably will. When fit, you'll play more often than not. But I did see a graph earlier on this week, or it was a heat map actually. I think it was JD Hibs that posted it of Bashiri, and I think most of his year so far he has played left centre half despite being right footed. So it'll be interesting to see if he's comfortable there and he can play that position and he's used to it. Then that's great. I think the only thing is it does, when you're right footed playing left centre half, it does limit your passing options a wee bit sometimes. But who knows? Maybe he's a centre half that can play off both feet. Time will tell.
Well, I think we'd all love that.
Just so I can back it up with an example, I still think one of the best Hibs partnerships at centre-back we've seen in recent years was Efe Ambrose and Ryan Porteous. I thought they were very good together, and obviously both of them are right-footed.
Yeah. Efe Ambrose would just go past players like they were training cones at times, and then other times he would have a nightmare. So he really was hot and cold, but...
They had an abundance of left-footers at one point, because we obviously had... Liam Fontaine, who was left-footed for a period just before Efe Ambrose, and Hanlon as well. You do tend to find that if they're left-sided, they play on the left. Like, you don't really get a lot of left-footed people who play centrally, do you? Typically, because of left-footers being more rare than right. But I do wonder whether or not, as the game evolves and we become more reliant on centre halves to play football, whether or not you do see more kind of specialist left and right centre backs, and that becomes almost more of a moulded position than it is even just now.
Thank you very much for the analysis. Obviously, there is a wee bit of a buzz about Celtic at the moment, quite similar to ourselves. They're signing another I think they've signed another 3 Japanese players. Harry, should we be concerned about the way Celtic are playing at the moment?
To be honest, I didn't really watch their last few games. I don't actually think I've watched them since the final, but I think during the final, I think they were there for the taking. I know for the first half we sat deep, but I think they really struggled to break us down. And the only 2 goals they did score wasn't out of their own good work; it was out of the Hibs players falling asleep. I think they punished 2 very. It was just shocking, the 2 goals they scored from a Hibs perspective. And I think if we can keep our heads down, and as Liam said earlier, the best way to play against Celtic is to play at them. Like the Dundee United game earlier in the season, when I think Dundee United got a point, they should have had the Stonewall penalty and won the game. But Dundee United are terrible, and they went to Celtic Park and bullied them and had about 4 clear-cut chances you just couldn't finish. So I think if we go on the front foot, I think Celtic are definitely there for the taking. The only problem being is they spent 40 million this year, and obviously we think that we are loaded after spending 300,000 total. So yeah.
Quality, not quantity, Harold. And Liam, just on that, I mean, Kyogo's scored silly amounts of goals already this season. He is a threat. Should we really be concerned about him, though? I know he's obviously got a lot of goals, but he was fairly quiet in the final until Hibs gifted him 2 goals.
He's that kind of forward, though, isn't he? He isn't really involved in the phases of play a huge amount, and before you know it, he pops up with a double and it's game over. He's that kind of guy. And the other guy that signed, Daisen Maeda, who's the other forward, his goal scoring record's significantly better than Kyogo's goal scoring record in Japan. So, they are bringing in quality. He's also a Japanese internationalist. So, they are bringing in quality to the club, or what in the face of it looks like quality. I don't profess to be an expert in the J League. I certainly don't watch it. I don't ever even watch a single game from the J League. But they are, I think, bringing in players who are maybe from a different market, who come with that sort of unknown quantity. And if you underestimate them, typically they will harm you. They will hurt you. The special thing about Furuhashi for me is not so much his finishing ability, what he does as centre forward. It's his movement. His movement is really, really classy. He's obviously a player who thinks about the game and understands the game. And if our centre halves go to sleep for a second, I think he'll punish us.
Yeah. I'm not going to ask you to point out Japan on a map, because if I speak, I'm in big trouble. But no, I would agree. I think that we need to be totally focused. We need to be aware. If the ball needs to be shelled, we need to shell it. We can't play world-class football all the time. it's just about having that awareness defensively in areas of the park. So just before we wrap up on the Celtic preview, just want a score prediction for each of you. Harry, I'll come to you.
I'll go for it'll be a cracking game, there'll be nothing but entertainment for our first game back, so it'll be 3-2 Hibs.
That's actually what I was going to say. I was going to say 3-2.
And if you're watching on YouTube, Liam was visibly angry at Harry's prediction. Harry's looking like John Lennon this evening, and Liam's fucked his thumb. So, Liam, what's your score prediction?
I'm going to have to do the whole 11 a reef thing, and I'm going to go for 4-3.
Perfect. To who?
The Cabbage, obviously.
Perfect. Not the tribute act.
No, not the tribute act.
Perfect. It's amazing how we have a couple of wins and all of a sudden we think they're going to go to Parkhead and score 4 goals. A life of a Hibs fan. All about the optimism. This part of the show is all about Guess Who. Usually it's Mr.
Whoa, Greig. You didn't give us your score prediction.
I'll go 1-1.
Fair enough. Anticlimactic.
I like to be a realist, Harry. I'm not going to say we're going to go and score 3 or 4 goals at Parkhead. So yeah, I'll go 1 each. I'll get splinters of my arse for sitting on the fence. All right. So yeah, before I was rudely interrupted by John Lennon, this part of the show is Guess Who. Usually it is Liam who hosts it, but I've decided that I'm now running the show, and this is my show now. So I'll be doing Guess Who. Rules of the game are there's going to be 5 clues. We'll stop after each clue. If you know who it is, shout out. If you get it wrong, get out. Okay. First player this evening. He had 2 spells at Hibernian, and in between his spells at Hibernian played for Monday's opponent Celtic. He made over 100 and wrong. Liam, come on.
Took the bait.
Yeah, took the bait. I was actually expecting Harry to take the bait, but you took it. He played over 100 games for Hibs in each spell.
Wow. Jeez. Oh, have you got that already, Liam? Right, keep going. I like all the clues anyway. I can get all the clues here, eh?
I don't know, he finished his career at Ayr United. And by looking at Liam's face, he's got it. He knows exactly what it is. He's currently 54 years of age and was born in Partick. And his last clue is that he scored over 50 goals for Hibernian in his 2 spells combined. Liam absolutely knows who it is, and he's sick.
I knew as soon as you said over 100 appearances, that was the giveaway.
No, you're going to say the name, and I honestly, I didn't even. That's well before I was born.
It's actually not Harry.
It
really isn't.
Nah,
no.
It's not.
Is it going to be one of those ones when I hear it, I'm going to be like, oh.
If you don't know who this is,
run them through again.
He played twice for Hibernian, 2 spells, and played for Monday's opponent Celtic between the 2 spells.
Yep.
Right. I don't even know what order it went in. He played over 100 appearances in each spell for Hibernian.
Aye.
He's 54 and was born in Partick. Finished his career at Ayr United and scored over 50 goals for Hibernian in his combined spells. Would you like to phone a friend, Harold? You can phone your friend Liam.
I'll phone Liam.
It's almost definitely Pat McGinley.
It is Pat McGinley indeed.
I was thinking, I'm not going to lie.
Do you know who Pat McGinley is, Harold?
I know the name, but what age? What decade did he play for Hibs? 90s.
So he had his first spell was 87 to 93, and then it was 94 to 2000.
All right, so I'll remember him from when I was 2.
Oh, Harry, Fuck off. Okay. Second player. He was a goalie. Come on, Harry, take the bait. He made 64 appearances for Hibernian. He left Hibernian in 2000 to join Brentford.
Nick Hogan.
Wrong. Took the bait.
Too early for Hogan anyway.
In 2010, he was sentenced to 10 months in prison in Iceland for housebreaking. He's done it again. He has done it again. Any ideas, Harry?
No, really.
And in 2016, he was arrested again, this time for driving under the influence with his 5-year-old son in the back seat.
Legend.
Yes.
Streets won't forget.
Do you actually not know who this is, Harry? I've spoken about this a lot, to be fair.
Is that? I can just say, mate, I'm like, these are, as I said, I'm no confident I had to guess who tonight, like, but
Oliver got his scouts and
aye,
correct.
Yeah,
Bad man. Don't break into houses, kids, and don't drink and drive. Harry, you really need to up it here. You know, please. He's taking the bait every time. He's leaving an open goal and you're missing.
Mate, it's open. I should have got that because I kind of like that play, but they deal with criminals myself.
Third player. You need to get this one, Harry. He started his career at Hutchison Vale before moving to Manchester United. He made 123 appearances for Hibernian, scoring 6 goals.
John Rankin.
Liam, come on. Hibernian wasn't the only team he played for in Scotland.
Again,
I who it is,
yeah, that's 3 in a row I've
in.
got after the next clue. 3 in a row.
After his second spell in Scotland with the Scottish team, he moved to Australia.
That's fair enough. Sorry, I'm sure. What? Oh, last clue.
Mate, you're honestly killing me, son. There was rumours that he left Scotland due to a gambling debt.
Oh, wow. All right, so he moved from Hutchie to Man U, then he played for Hibs and another team in Scotland, then he fucked off to Australia because he was a gambler.
Pretty much, aye.
No one to hold him, no one to fold him, Harry. It's time for you to fold him.
Liam, you can tap it in again, mate.
Grand Prep now.
It is indeed.
Harry, what decade did he play in?
Mate, hang up his boots about 10 years ago or something. He's played for years.
Yeah, he played at Hibs for 5 years, from 99 to 2004. I also had a spell on loan in 98. So you've had ample opportunity, Harry. You are really, really killing me tonight.
Sorry, 7-year-old Harry's Hibs knowledge wasn't quite as good as Greg's 2-year-old Hibs knowledge, apparently.
Right, we'll move on. This has been an absolute shambles. Liam's doing this next time because this is hopeless. Liam takes the bait and Harry knows none about Hibs. Next he'll be telling me Sozi scored a goal in the 6-2 game.
I knew there was no way John Rankin had as many as 123 appearances, but when you said Hutchie Vale to Man United, I thought I can't think of anyone else. But there you go.
Just took the bait, Liam. Just hold on for a couple of clues, mate. You'll be sorted.
Right. Okay.
Right.
I'll try and guess early next time, Liam, and then you can just hear them all.
Next player. This player has had more clubs than Tiger Woods. He's played for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams in Scotland.
Jesus.
With a spell in America and the Republic of Ireland. He is still involved with Hibernian, but not in a playing capacity. Over his career, he played 343 games, scoring a total of 82 goals.
Games, 82 goals.
He played over 100. He made over 100 appearances for Hibernian.
McManus.
It is indeed Harry. Finally, well done, Harry.
I went through the coaches. I was like, nah, none of them played in America. I was like, oh, does he? It's somehow 1-0. Liam, you need to get an equaliser. That looked bad.
That's embarrassing.
You cannot get beat off him tonight, Liam. You cannot get beat off him. Okay, next player. This player was another goalkeeper. He started his career in the Republic of Ireland before moving to Chelsea. He made over 100 appearances for Hibs, and then later in his career went on loan to another Scottish club.
Nick Colgan.
It is Nick Colgan indeed.
Oh, the pressure, man. I was about to bring shame on the family name there because he's also from Drogheda. Good Drogheda lad, Nick Colgan.
Yeah. Really bad stuff tonight, to be honest.
It's
really
one that's
poor.
been within the last 10 years, because then I could actually have a chance.
Don't you start getting cheeky, Harry. Right. You should know a lot more about Hibs than you do, it seems.
Right. Sorry, I didn't get that. God.
Don't start. Okay, next player. This player joined Hibs in 2005, but couldn't play for the first 2 months because he stopped a car robbery. This is going to be a long one. He was born in Middlesbrough, of all places.
Such a small club, Middlesbrough.
Never actually played for his hometown team, though, thankfully.
Was it David Murphy?
Nope.
Well, I had to try and get one early one.
He is currently assistant manager at MK Dons. He made over 100 appearances for Hibs and then left Hibs in 2011 to join another Scottish Premiership team.
Chris Hogg.
Well done, Liam. This is really difficult tonight, to be honest. That's 2-1 now.
That was 2-1, man. That was 2-1.
Who did he go to? Was it Inverness Cali he left us to go to?
It was.
It was finished by the time we went the other way.
Yeah, no, he was absolutely done.
It was finished after Rob Jones left.
Yeah. Last player. He made 99 appearances for Hibs between 2004 and 2008. He is 42 years old, but still within Scottish football. After leaving Hibs, he went down south and then came back up to Scotland to play 4 games for another Scottish side.
Boozy, Ian Boozling.
Very good, Liam. Well done. It is Guillaume Bouzelam.
Nice. Who did he play 4 times for?
Hamilton.
I didn't realise he played for Hamilton, to be fair. I knew he was coaching it now.
And then he went to Olympiacos Nicosia.
Oh, did
didn't play and then came back to Hamilton. And
Who plays
he's
for
an
England?
assistant. Coventry.
Oh.
I mind watching him in an FA Cup game against, I think it was Chelsea at the Ricoh Arena, and he looked absolutely classy. Like, you just watching him out there, like, had that proper again, that proud vibes watching a Hibs player down south. I love Boozy, he's a top player.
He was
I got
incredible.
to do coaching with Boozy once, because instead of paying for my coaching badges, I made a deal that I had to just like do coaching hours at East Mains, and then Boozy was there for one of like the academy weekends. It was just such a nice guy. Like, Boozy's awesome.
Top player as well. Top player.
Absolute greedy.
Oh, absolute caviar stuff. Absolute caviar.
He used to shield the ball for people. Like, when he used to get the ball with his back, and like, no, John McGinn used to use his arse to roll at situations. Like, Boozy just had this aura about him. He used to be able to get the ball and just spin either way, get round his man, and just play this like sumptuous pass forward. Lovely player.
It was his flick against Hearts in the 2-0 win at Easter Road. That was, you can't teach that. It's just pure poetry in motion.
Yeah, let's get that boy on the pod, by the way. He's some boy. He's some boy. Oh.
Do you mind when he used to do co-coms on Hibs TV? Like, not that I'd ever really listened, but you'd get like wee bits of it here and there. Like, how amazing he was on co-coms. He was like so excited. And, like,
He sounded so enthusiastic, and now we're ending up with Tam McManus. Sad state of affairs.
In some form, I don't really care what. I'm just bringing him back.
Yeah, I would agree. Anyway, thank you very much for listening tonight, folks. Thank you to Harry and Liam for sticking through it. Harry was a tough listen during the Guess Who, but hopefully he can go away and learn some Hibs knowledge. And we'll be back next week after Monday's game. We'll probably do a pod before the Cove game next week. Thanks again for listening. Good night and God bless.
Thank you.